This podcast is part of the Michigan Sports and Entertainment Podcast Network. Go to michigansportsandentertainment.com for more great podcasts.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
This is Massive Late Fee with Mike and Mark.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me, as always, is Mike. How you doing, Mike?
I am doing fine. How about yourself?
Good. We've had a good week here at Massive Late Fee. I've been doing some spring cleaning. The house is spick and span now. Is that racist, spick and span?
I'm not going to touch that one.
But I'm happy that the house is clean and span. News this week is dominated by the juggernaut known as Avengers Endgame, which set a record, destroyed a record for its opening day, about $150 million. In its opening weekend worldwide, it grossed over $1 billion. It's possible that it could take down Avatar as the most profitable film of all time. It certainly has a chance, depending on what it does next week. I know that it was Avengers Infinity War was a cliffhanger, so that may have brought a bunch of people in the opening weekend and fueled a lot of this, and it might have a steep drop next weekend. We will have to see. Mike, I'm going to ask this question, even though I absolutely know the answer. Did you watch Avengers Infinity War?
Oh, yeah, I did. It was an adrenaline-fueled thrill ride. It made Citizen Kane look like a piece of shit.
I saw it.
If this doesn't win Best Picture, I'm not watching the Oscars anymore.
I saw it. It was, I thought it was good. You know, it's definitely good for one of these movies. I didn't think it was as good as Infinity War, the first one. The Infinity War had a very cohesive and structured narrative, and this one is much more of a hodgepodge. You know, Mike, are you a fan of Back to the Future Part 2?
I do like the second one, yes.
Because this is basically Back to the Future Part 2.
But really bad.
For those of you who haven't seen it, don't listen to this. But for those of you that have seen it, you know what I'm.
No. If you haven't seen it, listen, because you're not going to watch it at this point. It's like a fucking 30-year-old movie by this point.
Yeah, that's true. But no, I don't mean Back to the Future Part 2. I mean this Avengers Endgame.
I wouldn't recommend that one either.
But anyway, so they basically go through old Marvel movies. They do Thor: The Dark World, which is one of the worst ones. They do the original Avengers, and they do Guardians of the Galaxy. And then they do something else too. But they go through all the... It's different than Back to the Future Part 2 in the fact that they're not just kind of reusing old footage of Crispin Glover because he doesn't want to be in the movie, opening themselves up for a lawsuit. But Wouldn't
it be great if they did put Crispin Glover in this?
I know. It would have been awesome.
Or his likeliness.
It would have been awesome if they just cut to that same clip of just him dancing, just at some random point. But they go through all the old movies because they have to recollect the Infinity Stones from different time periods in order to stop Thanos. That's one section of the movie. It's almost like it's different movies, but that's one section of the film where, you know, they pack all the nostalgia in, basically. And the rest of it, it's kind of free from the rest of it, which is nice. There's one scene that sort of bothers me, but it doesn't bother me the way that it bothers misogynists. There's one scene in the final battle where all the female superheroes happen to land or be in one area, and they start attacking Thanos. And the way it's shot, you know, it's shot with them all kind of coming together, all the female superheroes, and it's so heavy-handed. I know what they're doing. I have no problem with there being female superheroes in this universe, and I have no problem with, you know, them being cool and kick-ass and everything else, and I like a lot of them. But from a filmmaking perspective, it's just like hitting you in the face with a hammer. Because they just all happen to be on that battlefield at the same time, right at that spot, and then they start attacking. But I get what they're trying to do, and I have no problem with it. And if they want to put all of them in a movie, which they keep apparently teasing, just fucking do it. Stop heavy-handedly pointing out, oh yeah, there's a bunch of women here too. Just so you guys know, we're inclusive. There's a bunch of women right on the screen all together. Just put them in a movie together. But spoilers for everyone: Iron Man dies, Captain America becomes old, and Black Widow dies, and Gamora comes back and kind of doesn't come back too. She's taken from a different dimension, but I think she was put back in that dimension. So I don't know. I think the next Guardians of the Galaxy. You've watched Guardians of the Galaxy, right? You like that series?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought that was the one
Nope.
that you did like.
No, I don't like any of them. I've tried a couple of them. I can't get like more than like 20 minutes into the movie without turning it off. Like I tried to pick up where I left off on Infinity War, So I was like live tweeting it like a few months ago, but it was just so bad I had to turn it right off. They're very bad movies. I don't understand why people like them so much.
I think they're good from a filmmaking perspective. Some of them anyway, but I know why you don't like them. And it's hard, especially with something like Infinity War. If you haven't seen any of the other movies, it's just gobbledygook. They don't care about people like you anymore.
The feeling is mutual.
They stopped caring about people that haven't watched the other movies. At this point, it's like a extended TV series where they're just in 2-hour installments 6 months apart from each other. Or in this case, 3-hour installments. But it was.
I don't think I'd want to watch any movie for 3 hours.
It was a good movie. It wasn't as good as some of the other ones, in my opinion. But on to non-Marvel news. The Child's Play reboot came out with a poster today where it shows Chucky having killed Woody from Toy Story 4. Which is the only killing that movie is going to be doing of Toy Story 4, because I'm pretty sure Toy Story 4 is going to destroy it at the box office. Although I'm sure there will be people that want to see this Child's Play movie. Do you have any interest in this movie, Mike?
No, even the original I didn't think it was all that good, and the sequels were just really bad. So I mean, why would you even do a reboot or remake or whatever the fuck of that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'd be like remaking Uncle Buck. Why would you do it?
Exactly. It should be Uncle Buck's Child's Play.
Right?
Yeah, we're gonna give those people ideas now. The next reboot is gonna be one of the little kid that Macaulay Culkin played has a Child's Play doll. But anyway, I didn't like any of the sequels either. The original one I thought was creepy, but that was probably because I think I was 9 when I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, that would make sense. 'Cause I saw it when I was probably in my teens. It was just like, I don't understand the big, deal over this movie.
Yeah, and after that, I've revisited it after that, and I've said to myself, why was I ever scared of this movie? And just because I was 9, basically.
Yeah, that's usually the worst when you revisit something you once liked a lot.
Oh yeah.
Like what the hell was it? Like I think it was like the X-Men like TV series from the 90s.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if you ever watched that.
I did.
A couple years ago, my friend Matt. My friend Matt and I went to watch it. And I'm like, oh my god, this is like the worst fucking show ever. How would you even like that as a child?
Yeah, that really does suck. I know I'm gonna piss off a lot of people out there, but the Goonies, guys, does not hold up.
Yeah, I didn't see that movie till I was like in my 20s. I never thought it was good to begin with.
If you still think that movie is good, it's either because you haven't seen it since you were a kid or you're fooling yourself. Because it doesn't hold up at all. But, sad news, John Singleton passed away at 51 years old. Unfortunately, that seems to be somewhat common in the black community to pass away in, the 50s. Black men tend to have shorter lifespans than certain other races. I think partially because they may be more physiologically prone to heart disease and vascular disorders, and partially because medicine has never been, I mean, in the past, medicine was never made specifically with black people in mind. And
So you're stating that medicine is for us and also by us? Is that true? Records?
apparently, yeah, at least it used to be that way. I think there have been changes recently where they have now started to take different genetic predispositions into account when it comes to African American people. But unfortunately for that population, just another example of that. Their needs not really being met as far as medicine goes. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know how many of you out there have seen the movie Boys in the Hood. You should. It's a really good, powerful film. I enjoyed it a lot. Mike, have you seen it?
Yeah, I really like that movie. I think I saw it I saw Menace to Society again a few years ago, but that's like a perfect like zeitgeist of that era. It's like a South Central Los Angeles youth essentially live with his father. His parents went together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, it's like a perfect, like kind of timepiece of that era.
and John Singleton was, a great director, great writer. So he will definitely.
Yeah, he was nominated for an Academy Award for directing and writing that movie when he was 23 years old, which is still a record.
Yeah, insane.
I mean, how old was Orson Welles when he did Citizen Kane?
26.
Okay, so even he was older. Wow, I mean, he was like a boy genius. I mean, geez, John Singleton was out of college for 2 years, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that, because I think he went to I know he went to film school. I don't know if he went to like graduate school or what, but yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe he was about 1 year out of college. I think when he started making that film.
Yeah, I was trying to. So it was kind of weird to see. I'm like, I don't really know of any other movies by him, and I looked it up, and I guess he did the Shaft remake a few years ago with Samuel Jackson.
Yep.
And he did like a lot of like TV type stuff. But there's something else it was a movie my wife likes, Poetic Justice. He also directed that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that, but there's a joke in "Don't Be a Menace" referring to that.
Yes, that's right. That Shaft remake.
That's Jason's lyric.
That Shaft remake is kind of underrated, I think.
Is Christian Bale the bad guy?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. I think he might be. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he makes a good villain, Christian Bale. I mean, as seen in American Psycho or behind the scene footage on Terminator. I mean, he's just like I mean, I don't know why he hasn't played more bad guys. He's good at it. It's kind of weird that like it's almost like less lucrative to play the good guy, I guess, or to play the bad guy, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose, but he is very talented at it.
Yeah, though some people like Jonathan Lithgow, like especially in the Dexter series, he's really good at it.
Yeah, and sort of unexpectedly so, at least for me, because most of the things that I've seen him in have been more comedic and lighter, or kind of serious roles, but not a bad guy.
Yeah, he's really good in Dexter, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I didn't even see the original Shaft. I saw like in that kind of genre. I saw Superfly, which was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a couple other like those like soul movie type thing. I think that's what they call the genre. And like I mean, I could take them or leave them, but I mean, I like the movie that was influenced by it a lot. Jackie Brown with Pam Grier. That's really good. So if they're more like that, maybe I'll watch more. But I don't know.
Yeah, they're hit and miss, obviously. But I think John Singleton was talented enough to sort of capture a little bit of that like blaxploitation flavor, but also bring something new to it and something more 90s to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like Samuel Jackson, but that's just not a movie that interests me at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel about remakes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a stroke last week, John Singleton, and then his family took him off life support like yesterday. And then the same day he had passed away, so he must have been in pretty dire straits as it was. That's really rough for everybody.
Yeah, it was the same kind of thing as Luke Perry, and I think they might have been the same age. They're close.
I think Luke Perry was 52 for some reason.
Yeah,
I think John Singleton was 51. Yeah, it's pretty close. But yeah, I was reading something like his family said it might have been like something to do with he had like high blood pressure again, like disorder that seems to attack, that doesn't seem to. It statistically is proven to affect African Americans more often than the general population, which is really weird. I mean, that's something that hopefully, they'll crack the code on that, in the next few years here.
Yeah, there's like you said, it's strange because they don't really know exactly why. But like you said, it's statistically proven that, obviously we're not saying every black person has high blood pressure, but the black population suffers from high blood pressure and those kind of cardiovascular issues at higher rates than other populations for some reason.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier, like from an evolutionary standpoint, how that even makes sense. I mean, it's something to look into, but just probably not the best subject for an entertainment podcast.
Right. We get serious on Massive Late. We crack
and
the
a very
code.
special Massive Late Fee.
We cracked the code on Uncle Buck last week. Maybe we can figure this out this week.
What if we kept going, we did? You don't want to bore anybody. Fuck it. Let science figure that one out.
The last bit of news I have today is controversial for, I guess, some people. I don't care about it at all. But it is being speculated that in the new Sonic movie, Sonic the Hedgehog is an alien, which apparently is big news for fans of Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think that might actually be because my daughter really likes Sonic the Hedgehog, and she was reading a book about him, and he was like in outer space. I'm like, that's weird. It's like an older book. It's not brand new or anything. So I wonder if like that actually is what it is. Like because I'm not Eric Stoner. I'm not, diving into Sonic the Hedgehog lore.
Right.
I don't really care about his backstory or his fucking friend. I just want to play the game. But a lot of these like things like Pokemon and as Eric Stoner aptly showed us, Magic the Gathering have a rich and deep history that I could not care less about.
Yeah.
I mean, what? See, you're. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, in the original video game, from what I read, he was supposed to be born on Earth, I think in Nebraska, in some small town. But as you pointed out, maybe in the expanded universe that I didn't even know existed of Sonic the Hedgehog, maybe they branched it out into him being an alien. The reason people think that is because in the trailer that they just released, he says something to the effect of, "I'm going to have to save your planet," instead of the planet or our planet.
I don't even know you're talking about our planet.
No, I think he's on Earth when he says that, and he's talking to some human.
I don't give a fuck. Who cares?
I don't either. But, the internet...
I mean, sometimes the alien looks like a hot guy. Sometimes it looks like a hedgehog. You can't control these things.
Exactly.
I do like that there's people who are like they're fine with everything else about Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, he's blue. He can run at supersonic speeds. He's anthropomorphic. He has a friend who's a fox. Whoa, from a different planet. Hold on there.
It's like,
isn't that in a way a subtle form of racism?
Yeah, exactly.
You only like magic hedgehogs from Earth?
I was just thinking that. It's like no female superheroes or no people of color being superheroes. Like only human magic superheroes in our movies.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh God. But
if I could find the people that were upset about this and I could put them all on a spacecraft and launch it into the sun, well, draw your own conclusions.
I would love to talk to him. I'll tell you that much.
I bet it's a surprisingly large amount of people too. Like it's probably way more than it should be.
If you're a listener out there that hates that Sonic the Hedgehog is alien, let us know. And then unsubscribe.
You probably can't use email if you think that. I mean, I don't know how. Maybe look us up in the phone book, Massive Late Fee in the Yellow Pages.
Yeah, there you go.
Good luck with that.
I love pissing off sections of the fan base and just whittling it down farther and farther.
I'm fine. I'm more than happy with that. If you don't like what we're saying, just don't listen. We probably aren't the sort of people that you want to listen to in the first place.
Exactly. So last week,
unlike Marvel, we're going for quality, not quantity.
Right. So last week we had no Culture Vultures episode. Do you have one this week? Something you're pissed off about?
I'm not super pissed off about it. But I mean, I am annoyed by all these okay, this is a ridiculous thing to say in the first place, but like whenever I go to the website yahoo.com a surprisingly large amount of times, even more larger than the amount of people who are upset over Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
It's like maybe it's not even Yahoo actually. It's like a no, I think it is Yahoo because it's like a thing. I open a tab and it goes to the webpage or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm like hitting homepage and it's popping up. But there's like I've noticed like especially in the past few weeks, every week there's like a completely ridiculous, like poorly researched theory about Game of Thrones. It just is so annoying. It's like people who like jumped on the bandwagon the last week, like, oh, this person has blue eyes. You know what that means? Like it doesn't. You don't know what it means. I mean, everyone was convinced last week, myself included, after reading all these dipshits, that the Night King was flying off the King's Landing to lay waste to everything. Mm-hmm. Did that happen? No, it did not happen.
Yeah, I saw one.
It's like a mock draft. They're never correct. Yeah. Not even. I mean, if they get even closer, like, hey, remember back in 2005, I got the 13th pick right. It's like, oh, okay, you are the guru.
I saw one of those today, and I just kind of laughed it off. I think it was someone was like, "Who's gonna kill Cersei?" And someone responded, or one of the theories was, "It'll be Arya." Because Cersei has green eyes, and that girl said that she'll kill people with brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes. And I'm like, yeah, that wasn't the point of her saying that.
Yeah, she didn't dramatically say brown eyes.
Right.
It's like I mean, even though it's been like a prophecy from the beginning of the show that her younger brother, or maybe I honestly don't know what's in the show and what's in the book. Sometimes in the book, like from like the first or second book, there's a prophecy that her younger brother is going to kill her, and like Arya is something to be. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
And these people clearly like, especially it looks like they often like make links to Reddit posts. Like, the headline will say like, I'm dead convinced on this one. And then like, well, this is a weird theory from some guy in Reddit. And then the person who writes the article clearly is not familiar with like the show at all because you don't even know what they don't even understand what they're talking about.
Right.
They're just like poorly rephrasing like some idiots like post on Reddit that they just like, no one else posted this one yet.
Right. Exactly.
Because they know, like, they have, like, a page, like, Yahoo that your new tab opens to, and then people see Game of Thrones, and some idiots with way too much time in their hands, like myself, will go look at it and then be angry.
Oh, I love it. And then we'll rant about it on a podcast and make our own content.
Yes.
Oh, all right. So.
They're very annoying, though.
I'm gonna mix things up a little bit, since I don't want to make you do two things in a row. So I'm gonna go right into educating Mike. Now, today, if you've seen the title of this episode, you'll know we're talking about Game of Thrones. For all of you Narcos fans out there that enjoyed our first episode look at Narcos, we are getting back to Narcos, but we're suspending it for Game of Thrones because the episodes are, getting longer, and there's just way too much to talk about to try to fit Narcos into the same episode we talk about Game of Thrones. So until Game of Thrones is over.
And so far, Narcos is such a good show that I just have to respect it and give it the proper amount of time it deserves. We can't just like rush through both of them and give you, half of each. It's, I think Narcos it's not like some shit movie like, that Third Frontier or whatever. Yeah. It seems so far like a decent show. So I'd like to, kind of like give a nice long review of it, so just rushing through.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. So we're just going to do Game of Thrones until Game of Thrones is over. But since we're doing Game of Thrones, I decided to find a fantasy / sci-fi-ish film, even though Game of Thrones is not exactly fantasy. As you pointed out, it's light fantasy.
Yes, it would say light fantasy for sure, which is why I like it.
But I picked...
Like my fantasy, like my bondage. Light and pleasant. And usually not at all.
But I picked Dungeons and Dragons, the 2000 film from Courtney Solomon. Have you seen or even heard of this film?
You know what? I think this segment is going to be called Educating Mark because I have seen this movie and I remember it pretty well.
Okay. So it was pretty poorly received. I have not seen it, although I am familiar with the game Dungeons and Dragons. And it stars Justin Whalen, Marlon Wayans, Thora Birch, Zoe McClellan, Kristen Wilson, and Bruce Payne and Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons is in this fucking movie.
So I'm not going to go through the whole plot because whoever wrote this is a super fan, and this is long. But I'll go through some of the plots.
I don't. Go ahead. It's not worth being a super fan of. Let's just say that.
The Empire of Izmir has long been a divided land ruled by the mages, an elite group of warlocks. An evil mage named Profion creates a magical scepter that can allow him to control gold dragons, but his attempt to control a captive one fails, and he is forced to kill it. So I guess it didn't really work that well. As he began to make new plans, the dragon bleeds into the river, causing it to catch fire, which many inhabitants notice, including a pair of teenage thieves, Ridley, and his best friend, Snails.
Marlon Wayans is like 30 in this movie, so I had no idea he was supposed to even be a teenager.
Is he Snails or Ridley?
Come on, Mark. You know how Hollywood works.
Okay, so he's Ridley. Later, Profion and the council, no explanation of what the council is, discuss about the controversial views of Empress Savina, who wants to give rights to non-mages in Izmir. So it's about racism. When the council threatens to confiscate the scepter that allows her to control gold dragons, but it failed. She decides to seek the Rod of Sarvril, which controls red dragons. So this controls Hannibal Lecter? Or no, that guy that came before Hannibal Lecter.
Francis Doleride.
Yeah.
No, Red Dragons is I'm not a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan. I'm a big fan of role-playing games, just not that one in particular. I believe Red Dragons are the most powerful dragons in the game. Gold dragons are like shit dragons, though. They're like a class called Metallic, I think is what they are. Because they have like, colors and they have some of their gems. I don't think the Metallic ones are all that great.
Shit dragons. So a lot of other stuff happens, and then I really don't want to read the rest of this. Ridley later visits Snails' grave. Well, in the part I skipped, Snails dies.
That might have been an important part.
With Norda.
But surprisingly, it wasn't.
With Norda, Marina, and Elwood, and plays tribute to his fallen comrade. When he places the Eye of the Dragon. Oh, so it's a Stephen King crossover. On the grave, Snails' name disappears, and Norda tells Ridley not to question his abilities. Norda then uses the Eyes of the Dragon to transport Ridley to another place in the world where your friend awaits you, along with herself, Marina, and Elwood. And that's the end of the film.
Yeah, this was a shit movie. I don't even know why I went and saw it.
So what do you remember about it?
I remember Marlon Wayans and the other guy. This movie had a surprisingly good cast. I mean, at least as far as for their roles. Jeremy Irons is actually very good in this. He's like an evil wizard guy. And then there's I don't remember his name. You know the movie The Mummy? Mm-hmm. He played the Mummy. That guy. And he was in 24 too. He's a pretty good actor. He was in this as well.
Yeah, Marwan.
He was good in
24.
Yeah, and he was good in this. But the movie, it was just like I don't even understand what they're trying to do with this movie. Like, from what little I know about Dungeons & Dragons, like, the setting was not exactly... It didn't make sense. I don't understand the appeal this movie would have to a Dungeons & Dragons fan, other than having the title Dungeons & Dragons. And it was, like, a big tie-in, too, because, like, there's a magazine my friend Matt had. I think it's, like, called Dragon or something like that. It's like the same company, at least at the time, that did Dungeons & Dragons. They actually had all the characters in there, and they had them statted out. They had magic items and all this stuff. It was, like, really, obviously, some, like, deep ties to the movie, but it just had really nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons. They just call it generic fantasy movie number 6. That's all this really was.
Right.
Like, I wonder if it initially was even a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Like, if they're like, fuck, what are we going to do with this piece of shit with Marlon Wayans?
Let's get Wizards of the Coast in on this.
Is that who it was at the time? Because I know they went through a few changes in ownership, and I don't even know. Hasbro might own them now. I really don't know.
I think that's who it said produced it, was Wizards of the Coast. So
okay, yeah, that would probably be. That's weird. Were they behind that then?
No, I don't. I think they just gave the rights.
Oh, I see. So
I think they
gave them
got
the credit
produced.
for the
Yeah,
business transaction.
exactly. They got producer credit because I think they probably got. Well, they would have gotten a percentage of the gross had it made any money.
Yeah, I can't imagine this movie made any money.
It was made for $44.8 million and it made $33.7 million.
Oh wow, I don't know what they spent all that money on. It definitely wasn't quality or good special effects.
So here's the parents' guide for Dungeons and Dragons.
I think about $40 million of that probably went to Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
And it still wasn't worth it to him.
Sex and nudity, according to the parents' guide. There are 2 instances. A man smacks Marina's butt. That's... Sex and nudity seems to be such
It's neither sex nor nudity.
Yeah, it seems to be such a large category for this parents'
Unless
guide.
sex means sexual situations, some of the rating systems are oh, watch out, there's sexual situations.
Right. Human beings are acting like human beings in this movie.
Which to some of us is a surprisingly wide criteria.
The other one is some sexual innuendo and a little flirting. You gotta watch out for the flirting. One kiss. A female elf wears a metal breastplate with accentuated breasts and a very brief scene of fleeting cleavage.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It almost sounds wistful.
Yeah.
It's fleeting cleavage.
Oh, it's like a store that will open in 10 years that has old paper pornographic magazines for the old people who never adapted to the internet.
Fleeting cleavage.
Yeah, then you'll rent them out like a library, but each time the paper will fade or other things will damage the paper. So the cleavage will be fleeting.
Oh, we gotta open that store. Oh. Violence and gore is moderate. Legions of dragons attack. They are shown flying and spitting out fireballs. One man is engulfed in flames when a fireball hits him. Some dragons of apparently different hue chase and fight each other. I love they don't understand the film at all. And I guess was it hard to see? Apparently different hue chase and fight each other. One dragon is shot with a huge arrow and drops down, eventually being impaled on the spiral of a minaret. A dragon gobbles up a man whole. The scene is quick, dark, and murky, so not much is evident. Another dragon is killed when a gate with pointy thingies at the bottom. When a gate with pointy thingies at the bottom comes down hard on him. His blood oozes copiously, flowing down several steps. This person knows the word copiously, but has to write a gate with pointy thingies at the bottom.
They didn't want to get too graphic.
Oh, God.
They didn't want their description to be so graphic that it would offend somebody.
Yeah. There are several...
You mean blades? No.
There are several fights, most involving fists and kicks, and a few with swords, torches, and sticks.
You know what would be fun? We should start this this new segment. What if we just add our own trivia to these movies we watch?
Yeah, there you go.
Or our own depiction of an inappropriate scene.
We should do that. Yeah, we're gonna work on that, people.
Sexual situations, but there's a human on dragon scene. Just why would that just be casually a very graphic?
Oh my God. Oh.
So I was well, I think I kind of want to watch that now, just to see it. Then they just put it twice.
A girl shoots magic bolts at several men on different occasions. The bolts seem not to kill, but to paralyze for a short while. That's violent, I guess.
It's definitely terrifying if you're the one who gets paralyzed. You're oh my God, is this forever?
Right.
No, that's only a little bit of time. It's just a moment.
Profanity's just mild obscenities. They don't even enumerate them, so it's got to be real little.
Yep.
Frightening and intense scenes. There are several dark, dank, and spooky dungeons, and many dragons.
Spooky. That's going to be a person who writes pointy things.
Oh my God.
It's the same guy or gal.
Oh, wow. A man goes through a maze and is confronted and almost done in by shooting flames, huge pendulums, and rotating blades. So it's Indiana Jones Part 3 then?
I don't remember this. They were in this place that like would configure your own dungeon. I don't know if it was like for like a contest or what, or I think they went to a different. I really don't remember this movie that well. It was a very bad movie.
We see several skeletons, one of whom can talk.
What's that under? What category is that under?
Frightening and intense scenes.
Oh, okay. Someone was frightened by that intense scene there.
In the spooky dungeon.
Oh, this whole movie spooky.
There's a skeleton who can talk.
Wouldn't it be great if we could interview the person who wrote this?
I would love it. That's who we should try to get
and then we could
next.
Then we just try and shock them the entire time. Just if they think a skeleton that talks is scary.
It'd be like that scene. Yeah, seriously. On Halloween, you can see any of that on someone's door, but
right? They just close their eyes the whole fucking month.
It's like that guy in played by damn it, Walt Flanagan in Clerks, where he's Randall's behind the counter and he's like, I don't think you should be talking like this in front of the customers and everything. Sexual situations. He's like, hey, check this out. And he just runs away screaming.
That's a real person, unfortunately.
Yeah, no kidding.
Get on the sun shuttle.
So, now we will move on to Keeping Current with Mike. Lots of people, for a lot of people, this is their new favorite segment of the show. Where are we going on the interwebs today, Mike?
Well, I like to keep current. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if this is a tabloid or not. It's The Sun. Is that like a British tabloid?
I think it is. I think it's a British tabloid.
I think like their tabloids are like way better than ours,
Yeah, I agree.
They're more sensational.
This whole segment should be sponsored by Google because all I do when you do this is Google things to try to understand them.
Pretty much, yes.
Oh, The Sun.
Huh. Well, I think I'm in the wrong website because it says the great work, Ralph Nader on taking back power from the corporate state. See, I know exactly what that one's talking about.
Me too.
Oh, man. Hold on a second. I'm just find the right one.
I know who Ralph Nader is. I know the concept of taking power from the corporate state.
And I think he probably has some good points.
Yep, probably.
That's for keeping current affairs with Mike.
Right. While we're waiting, I'll tell everyone that you should read Unsafe at Any Speed by Ralph Nader, the one that brought him to prominence. About the Corvair, I think, right? I think so, yeah. This fucking car, man, no seatbelts, no airbags, obviously that was not an era for them, but the glass wasn't tempered or breakaway glass, it was just a pane of glass. So if you got in a car accident, it just came out whole in chunks and could decapitate somebody.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was the most horrifically designed car. If you got hit in the back, the gas tank would explode. It was a fucking horrifying automobile.
Isn't it insane like how like technology has advanced even since like then?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Pretty crazy. And just how many people like would be alive today if they only like knew what they do now. Mm-hmm. Like vaccines alone.
Yeah, sometimes I think about I've talked to my wife before. If we watch like a period movie or something like that, I'll say, I don't even know how the human race survived back then.
It's like whenever I watch Game of Thrones, the entire time I'm thinking about like, first of all, they probably mostly have horrific body odor. Mm-hmm. And then I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but like second of all, like, oh, I got nicked by a sword. I'm dead. Sorry. We don't have penicillin.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really amazing that the human race was able to survive all this stuff before before the advent of modern medicines. I guess they had a bunch of kids. That's why they had a bunch of kids.
I mean, it's obviously a strategy that we're still compelled to use, and it worked.
Yeah.
So no condoms for our fans from now on. Okay,
That's
propagate.
Right. That's right.
All right, so the correct website is www.thesun.co.uk.
Ah, gotcha.
This is definitely the tabloid one. I can tell from the first headline, though I don't really know what any of it means. So let's see. This one is this pedo back with X ? So pedophile, I think that's what they call them over in England. And this is an exclusive, by the way. Adam the bio, Adam Johnson making regular visits to ex-lover's house at all hours. Oh. And so and then it goes, and this part is ridiculous because it says the football pedo, all caps, the, not just any football pedo, the football pedo.
Okay.
31 has been visiting Stacy Flounders, 29, in the middle of the night, which has sparked rumors they could get back together.
Okay, let me...
A lot of weird shit going on in this one.
Let me make sure that this dude is... Okay, well, there on his Wikipedia, there's a section that says sexual crimes and convictions. So, yeah. In December 2000...
It's written by the comment section on IMDb, though?
Yeah, no kidding. All of this is too upsetting to talk about. That's all it says. In December 2014, Johnson began communicating over social media with a 15-year-old female fan while his partner was pregnant. He was interested in her pointy bits. Yeah, exactly. The following 17 January, he met up with the girl in his Range Rover. Not the best product placement for Range Rovers. Where he signed 2 Sutherland shirts for her. 13 days later, they met again, and Johnson kissed the girl. This is like, I don't need a blow-by-blow of what happened. It's like, this was written by, this was transcribed from her diary, apparently.
I guess.
On 2 March 2015, Johnson was arrested by Durham police on suspicion of having sexual activity with an underage girl who was 15, charged with 3 offenses, to which he pled not guilty. Let's see. At the start of his trial, he then pleaded guilty to 1 count of sexual activity with a child and 1 count of grooming. Okay, that's weird. Huh. Not a term I'm familiar with. Child grooming is befriending.
Oh yeah, it's I heard about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's that? Brian Singer guy?
Oh yes, okay.
I feel it's like some technique where you like I don't know what it is. It's like you kind of like slowly like manipulate like a young person who's like something a pedophile like that Brian Singer guy allegedly. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it's like a crime. I'm not even 100% sure exactly what it is. It's just like kind of like raising them to want to be with you or something like that. But it's weird that it's a crime because it's like a thought crime.
I don't know if it might be a UK. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, the United States is on here. Okay. In the United States, U.S. Code 182422 makes it a federal offense to use the mail, interstate commerce, etc. to entice a minor to sexual activity for which any person can be charged with a sexual offense. So I think it's a little more narrow of a definition in America. In the UK, it seems to be broader. A broader definition, because here it basically just says befriending and establishing an emotional connection with a child and sometimes the family to lower the child's inhibitions with the objective of sexual abuse. Seems sort of hard to prove, I guess, although with the internet I
imagine there's like an established pattern. This is a very serious episode of the podcast today.
No kidding. So
do you like how I just rushed? I wouldn't even let you speak to make sure that I where I learned about this grooming thing and it wasn't something I did.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no. By the way, just so you know. Yeah, I don't know. That Brian Singer thing is crazy. Like, have you ever read a lot about like all the? I mean, this guy's up to no good.
No kidding. The guy's a real jerk. Oh yeah, he's. I'm not a fan of Brian Singer and his activities, but I guess this
or his movies.
This guy's 31 years old, and he was released in March of 2019. He spent 6 years in prison, and
Jeez.
he played for a bunch of teams for soccer teams in the UK. We have German listeners, by the way. I just found out today. So wie geht's, German listeners? I know some German.
We know how you feel about those Scandinavians up there.
Exactly. Hast du etwas Zeit für mich? Singe ich ein Lied für dich. Anyway, so yeah, I guess just the one time. I mean, I'm not making excuses for him, but it looks like from what I can see, the one girl. They also said that when they did a psychological test on him, they found him to be socially and psychologically immature, but also that there was no evidence that he had a sexual attraction to prepubescent children. So she was 15. That's obviously post-pubescent. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the definitions are of pedophile, child molestation, stuff like that. I mean, obviously it's a crime and horrifying, but I think it's different psychologically than prepubescent, I guess.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, because, she was probably a physically developed girl, I assume, I guess. And I guess that's the difference. But yeah, that's who he is, guy I've never heard of, and those were his crimes. So we figured it out. And I guess he's going to get back to with his girlfriend.
Good for him. Which one do you mean, though?
Yeah, no kidding. That's okay. So I guess Stacy Flounders. I'm assuming that it's the one that he was with before he went to prison. Although the 15-year-old that he was with before he went to prison is now 21. So, guess it could be her.
Weird.
All right, next story.
I got some more breaking news for you.
Okay, exclusive.
All-time low. Oh, this isn't exclusive, actually.
Oh, sorry.
All-time low. Ryan Giggs' ex keeps head down after relationship with Max George reveal.
Okay, again, I don't understand any of those words, but apparently Ryan Giggs is a person, and so is Max George, and the other name you said.
Yes.
Okay, so...
Can you believe it?
It is hard to believe.
Ryan Giggs' ex-wife Stacy has been keeping a low profile since it was revealed she's in a secret relationship with the Wanted's Max George. You ever watch The Wanted, Mark?
No.
Good show.
No.
The 40-year-old was spotted returning from a sweaty session at the gym as she made sure to keep her head down and hood up.
Okay.
So, yep, there's something going on.
The only thing I could find with The Wanted is The Wanted was a British-Irish boy band consisting of members Max George.
Max George.
Yeah,
yep. Okay.
Max George, yeah. He looks like the bad boy of this boy band group.
Is Ryan Giggs also someone in that band? Maybe we could solve this right here.
Apparently, Ryan Giggs is a Welsh football coach and former player.
Huh.
He is the manager of the Welsh national team and a co-owner of Salford City. So it's more soccer stuff.
Sorry. I guess we could just say soccer is like all sports. So we could just substitute like, it's like Nolan Ryan. His ex-wife is dating
Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
Yes. Can you believe it?
Yeah, that's the American version of this story.
There we go. Yeah, I think we're gonna try we'll translate some of these to American.
Max George was born in 1988, so he is 30, September of 1988, and her ex-husband or whatever, Ryan Giggs, was born in 73, so that's a 15-year difference for this lady. So I assume he was either way older than her, or she's on the prowl for a younger
She's
man.
40, so
Okay.
she's only 4 years younger than him.
Okay, so yeah, she's 10 years older than this Max George dude, and there's nothing wrong with that. Although if she was cheating, then there's probably something wrong with that.
I don't know. Cobble's crisis. Faye Brooks seen for first time after becoming fifth star to quit Corey.
Okay, Faye Brooks, is that a British A British country music star.
I think it's an actress. I think she's an actress.
Oh, she's
Because they mentioned a show called Corey,
she looks.
and they were.
I think she looks attractive. It's hard to tell. These pictures are really small, but she seems attractive.
Not really.
Let's see. She is an English actress known for portraying the role of Kate Connor on the ITV soap opera Coronation Street, which I've heard of but never seen.
Maybe Corey is short for Coronation Street.
There you
what do you
go.
think about that?
Must be, yeah.
And it says they were stressed and struggling to create 6 shows a week.
She the last thing on her filmography is from 2018, and it says it's a one-off documentary, Coronation Street's DNA Secrets.
No.
Is that a sex tape from Coronation? That seems
That's not a bad idea. They really need to get on these. You know how everyone likes those DNA tests now? They should just have a bunch of celebrity DNA test shows.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She
I
was
mean, they've
on,
done serious ones, but you had to go for the lower level celebrities.
she was on an episode of The Chase, which is a game show that I've watched the American version of it that used to be on Game Show Network, but she was on the British version.
Jeopardy. I think the Jeopardy guy was on The Chase.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was. So what was the rest of the story? She doesn't. She's not.
Quit Corey.
Oh, she quit Corey. Okay, so the translation for this, soap operas aren't huge in the United States. This Coronation Street's pretty big in England, so it would have to be something more like. If I'm trying to think of an actress that's on a show that's sort of soap, it'd be like if Jussie Smollett quit Empire. Is there anything in that article about how Faye Brooks started staging attacks of herself, saying, "Yes, we're beating you up, Faye Brooks, because you're on Coronation Street."
You even had that one-off DNA on Coronation Street.
You started in the.
Yeah, it was Welsh.
You started off in the X Factor.
Is that like a singer or something? Then for the X Factor, I don't know what that is. That a singing show?
It's wait 1 second. Oh, that's my first sneeze on the show.
It's a laser gun.
It is a music television competition franchise created by British producer Simon Cowell. So yeah, I guess it is a singing competition.
Okay. Can I hear something fucked up?
Yeah, let's go.
Here's the next article. Quote, I love my job. Faye Brooks denied plans to quit Corey just 4 weeks ago. Can you fucking believe that?
Faye Brooks lied about quitting Corey. I can't believe it. How could she do that? I love my job? What a liar. Never believe a thing she says again. Good luck getting into Hollywood. Well, actually, I guess there are a lot of liars in Hollywood. Maybe she's making a play to get into Hollywood. Oh, I love my job. I'm going to be in the next Avengers movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty much done with this because it hurts my head to understand what's going on in this one. Like it's almost like reading like a text from like an alien planet, where a hedgehog would send you or something.
Exactly.
It's like I don't understand any of this. It's like you woke up from a dream, and then when you came back, you were like in a completely different like dimension. That's what this is like.
Yeah, British tabloids are like that for sure. Next week, for you German viewers, we will read a German tabloid.
Der Spiegel.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't feel that that's a tabloid though.
I think it's a reputable newspaper. But
what was that? What was that one we used to get in German class? Remember, like it was like the German pop.
Das maybe. Something, I think.
I don't think that really narrows it down, unfortunately.
Yeah, the something is what I said. I don't know. Das Kinder. I don't know.
I hope that's not what it is.
The children. Adam.
What are you, a fucking
Adam Johnson,
professional footballer over there in Britain? Now?
Adam Johnson's favorite magazine. Das Bitte Kinder.
Oh wow, you remembered his name? That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, now we will move on to. Well, first we will do a promo, and this week, who are we doing a promo for?
Duskinder.
I got all the I put together the schedule, and I forgot who we're doing. So whoever it is,
Skeptical Skeptics. Here we go.
I apologize. No, the Skeptical Skeptics, they're a great podcast. We love the Skeptical Skeptics. Talked to them today on Twitter. Love talking to them. But it's not them. They're doing Boy Meets World, which is another good podcast. We are doing.
I don't know if that's correct.
That's right. Why'd you say?
I think they're doing a different one. So I looked at that earlier too.
That might be. This might be an old note that I'm looking at. Then I'm almost positive though that we're doing the Super Media Brothers. I have so many notes, but yeah, Richie and Cody, the Super Media Brothers, great show. Probably. I mean, I don't want to say a little more extreme than our show, but they kind of are a little more extreme.
I know that pedophilia talk was pretty extreme.
Yeah, that's true. They're probably funnier than our show. So if you laugh at our show, you'll probably really laugh at their show. But check out the Super Media Brothers, and now we're going to play a clip from the Super Media Brothers.
I'm Midnight Agent Raw.
And I'm Okame.
We are the Super Media Bros podcast.
Each week, we give a comedically informative take on movies,
Music,
television,
video games,
and much more.
Put your shades on and listen to all episodes on supermediabrospodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yeah,
Shades on.
we're off.
And that is the Super Media Brothers. Great commercial for their show that we just listened to just now because we don't edit this in later. And they don't edit their show, by the way.
They do?
They don't. They go fully live. Any sneezes, coughs, anything like that. I mean, it shows how good they are at doing podcasts because their show sounds edited. It sounds completely professional, but they don't do any cuts. They just one take and done.
Nice.
But yeah, really good show. I enjoy listening to it. You should listen to it too. Check them out at Super Media Brothers with an underscore because some asshole is squatting on at Super Media Brothers and doing absolutely nothing with it, but won't give it up.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so if you own at Super Media Brothers, either give it up to Richie or go fuck yourself. that's my feeling on it.
I love how the podcast has just become you and I just be yelling at things.
Yeah, it's Old Man Rants, the podcast.
Angry white guys.
Oh, that is a lot of the internet.
I think we'd have a different audience if that was a title.
Right? But this week we are talking about Game of Thrones. Quite an episode.
I don't feel that much happened in this episode.
There's been a lot of battles, big battles. You mentioned the Battle of the Bastards last week when we were talking about this, and obviously this was all leading up to a big battle. This is probably, there's probably going to be one more. I don't know if they're going to try to make it bigger in scope than this one. I don't think so. I think it's almost a mistake. Yeah.
I think they've gone on record saying this is the biggest battle they've ever filmed, and it actually might be one of, if not the biggest battle ever filmed for TV or movies. It's like an hour and a half battle.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's like the movie Rodin, but with battles instead of cars.
Yeah, instead of car chases, exactly. The entire episode is basically the battle, but one of the things, and we'll get into it a little more in depth, but I want to say right off the bat, I was surprised at how personal they were able to make this too. This was an exceptionally filmed battle scene in the way that they were able to show both the incredible scope of the battle, but also narrow in on individuals and individual moments and character moments within the battle. I thought that set it apart from a lot of other battles I've seen, and it prevented you from getting, battle weary, from getting to a point where it's just you're overwhelmed to the point of this is enough kind of thing, because there were a lot of individual moments too inside of it, and it was almost divided into two different sections, and we'll kind of talk about that as we get into it more. What did you think of this episode, Mike?
Did you know that during the Civil War, people would go and like watch battles just like as entertainment? They'd like pack like a picnic lunch and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. I don't know, it just made me think of that.
Yeah,
I really like this episode. I know a lot of people complained about the lighting, which I think was obviously just like a cinematic choice. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of it was trying to represent the fog of war, especially like when Daenerys and Jon are up in the clouds and their stupid dragons. And there's a lot of stuff like that. So I would love to see it more, but I think they use actually natural lighting, which is kind of insane for like a show of that scope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the light. I heard a lot of people complaining about it online and stuff afterwards. I didn't have I don't know if my TV's just brighter than a lot of people's TV, but I didn't really. I could see everything that was going on.
God, are you bragging about the brightness of your TV again?
I have the brightest TV in the world.
Can we go one single conversation without this coming up? Before the show, you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I need to turn the TV down." I'm like, volume? No, brightness.
It's like
a
sun. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, but yeah, I didn't really have a problem seeing the battles.
No troubles.
There were maybe a couple instances where it was a little dark, but like you said, I think that was due to a lot of natural lighting that they used, and some of it, I'm sure, was to cover up. Like if this had been filmed in broad daylight, they either would have had to spend another $50 million to make it look really good, or it's got to be a little dark because you can hide some things in the dark. So I think they spent a ton of money on this episode, but I think
isn't that the motto of the famous footballer? You can hide some things in the dark.
Everyone's the same age in the dark.
No, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I actually felt like at the beginning, I'm like, are they really just doing this to save money on the CGI budget? Because it was so dark. Especially like when they were up in the clouds on the dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know you're a fan of military history, as I am. I would just say their strategy was terrible. Their whole, it was like the worst idea. There was nothing good about their strategy. Why would they put the trenches behind their first two lines of attack?
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
They're going to die.
Yeah,
if they're dead, we'll do this thing that requires a torch.
I was thinking about that the whole time. The whole time I was watching the episode, I'm like, how fucking dumb are they? Where, yeah, the trenches are way back from their first two lines of defense. Their lines of defense are basically, in a field far away from any natural protections.
Right. And Jon was at the wall when they tried to attack before. He knew that door, which was much sturdier than one that Winterfell, was easily penetrated. So it's not like they won't be able to just bust right down their door.
Yeah, exactly. And when they started with the dead, running at the lit trench and everything, I knew exactly what, I knew that was going to happen before they did it. I'm like, they're just going to pile themselves up there and crawl over it.
I think everyone except for the defenders knew that.
Yeah.
And that being said, the first moments of the battle was awesome. When the Lady of Light, whose name I can't think of at the moment, when she lit all the Dothraki's Aurex, is that what they're called?
Her name is
Melisandre.
Yeah, Melisandre. That's right.
I confused her with Daenerys's sidekick, Melisi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Melisi.
But yeah, that part was awesome. And then when you just when you see the dead charging, that was amazing. And then there's just silence. It's oh shit, as all the swords go out.
Yeah, that was great.
Which is pretty ridiculous because Daenerys just fucking wasted all the Dothraki. Like her entire force is like gone now. I mean, at least the Dothraki part, like, oh, my heritage, I'm part Dothraki. Oh no, they're all dead. Although I guess some of them must have came back because I mean, I doubt Jonah Mormont was like the only person to return, from that. He's like, well, I'm okay. Everybody else is dead. That doesn't seem to be very likely.
Yeah. I think there's got to be a few,
especially because he's old as fuck.
But that was especially like cinematically, the cinematography on that. It was incredibly dramatic and it was awesome. Like you said, when she lit all the swords and then they go in there and they just kind of start like one by one go out, and that's great restraint too in filmmaking, because we don't really need to see that visual representation of all those lights going out, like, slowly one by one at first and then real quick all the rest of them. That's what we need to see, and that sells the emotion more than even seeing the battle up close.
Yeah. Another thing that bothered me too was with the just like the whole dragons. Like that was, first of all, why did they not just like blow through the undead's ranks? Just like they could like make zigzag patterns, or one go one way, one the other. They could have just taken out the majority of the undead force. I mean, they seem to be super susceptible to dragon fire, except for obviously the Night King himself.
Yep.
I mean, why? Again, it's like you could do the equivalent of like in Dresden, you could bomb the entire area before sending your troops at all.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. They should have used the dragons before the Dothraki charged at all.
Yeah, or even just to lit the area. I mean, you're like, whoa, it's pure black shadows over there. Yeah, go ahead and check it out for us, would you?
Oh God.
And then they just like stood on a mountain. I mean, I know they were waiting for the Night King, but it takes two of them to defeat the Night King. Hasn't Daenerys been riding these dragons longer than anything else in the series? And the Night King's like, well, I've been practicing extra hard on the weekends. I mean, there's no way he's going to be a better rider.
Yeah, it's like it's the equivalent of someone who's been flying planes their entire life up against someone in ROTC or something like that.
Exactly. I mean, it's just like, what? I mean, I guess he's magic or something is what they're saying there.
Yeah, I assume so. But, yeah, apparently he's impervious to fire. I don't know exactly what that means.
I don't either.
Because everyone wants to know who he was. I
bet Samuel will figure it out and, explain it. But I think they were just doing a fake out there. Because like, oh, cool, Daenerys. Like, oh, no, it wasn't.
Yeah. And, they faked us out a lot of times because...
Yeah, I was severely faked out at the end. I could tell because like it was almost over. I'm like, yeah, I don't think they're going to kill everybody and they're going to end it there. I mean, but I just had no idea what would happen. I'm not going to, we'll talk about it obviously, but it's just like the way it actually ended, I was like, oh my, I literally wasn't even thinking of that happening in this episode at least.
Yeah, me either. Not at all. That came out of nowhere for me too. But... We get a lot of character moments with different people, especially, they use the people in the catacombs for kind of a break from the action sometimes. And, Tyrion's down there, obviously, and how do you say her name?
Sansa.
Sansa, yeah. Sansa's down there. I love the line.
And Melisandre.
We get a little like humor break when Sansa says that Tyrion was the best of her husbands, and he says, "Oh, that's what did he say? That's really sad, or that can't possibly be true, or something like that." That was hilarious, and it's funny how even in that situation, Sansa can't help but throw shade or whatever they say at Cersei, where she says, we couldn't get together because of your divided loyalty. The Dragon Queen would always get in the way. And, one of your favorites says, yeah, without the Dragon Queen, there wouldn't be anything to worry about because we'd all be dead.
Yeah, Sansa's kind of like, how like when you're hanging out with your friend and they're like, oh, is it okay if my friend from work comes over? You're like, yeah, I guess. And then they just talk about their work people and shit you don't know the entire time.
Yep.
That's kind of like Sansa with like, Cersei, like, oh, wow, Cersei was a bitch. It's like, oh my God.
Every conversation comes back to that.
Right.
But yeah, that's so, we get a little break there and we get more stuff, between them. Did you think, now I thought this, and I'm glad this wasn't the case, at least on one end, when, later in the
Tyrion and Sansa were standing there.
Later in the battle, the the defenses are getting breached and everything, and the dead are coming down to the catacombs, and they're hiding behind this pillar, not pillar, but something like that. And she pulls out the knife. I thought they were gonna kill themselves.
That's what I thought too. That was actually kind of a callback to, I think it was season 2, the Battle of the Blackwater. Mm-hmm. When Cersei and her son, I think it's Tommen is who it is, she's about to poison him and then herself.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, they legitimately were about to do that, but in this, it's like, are they? I mean, that's why I thought of that, probably because of the earlier, scene in the previous season.
She definitely gave him a look like this is a suicide pact.
What if? I mean, that was a very ambiguous look. So what if he thought she meant to kill her, but she's like, no, we're going to kill that.
He just grabs the knife out of her hand and just stabs her. She's like, what the hell? What? The look? I thought this was meant. This is why we're not married anymore.
I wanted to be blood brothers.
But yeah, so...
Yeah, I mean, one of the first deaths we have in the scene is Ed. I think he's the captain of the East Watch. The Night Watch's, ships and that kind of stuff. He was, obviously we saw in the last episode with Sam and Jon, staring wistfully at the fleeting cleavage.
Yeah, exactly.
He, of course, it looked like several other people were going to die during this battle, and I wouldn't be shocked if the producers were the ones spreading these dumb theories on Reddit.
Right.
And because there's just so, there's basically I've heard that everybody on the fucking show is going to die this week, and only a few did, and no offense to the fictional characters, but they're not really. Ed's gone. Okay. I forgot all about him. He was gone for 6 seasons.
Right. Yeah. A lot of the people, I can tell that they're not that important.
I guess we can't pilot a ship now. Shit.
I can tell that they're not that important because a lot of them that died, I didn't know who they were.
Right. Well, Jonah Mormont was pretty important. He dies when they start to breach. Okay. So the sequence is, the Dothraki go out and just basically all get killed. The Unsullied put their spears down, and a lot of them get their asses kicked. Then finally, oh, hey, let's light this trench we put behind everybody now that we're all dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Melisandre, who was able to light, a few thousand or the Arak things in the first scene, ran out of energy points because she couldn't light a fucking torch.
Right.
And nobody else could light this torch either, because there was snow on it. People who, were in Winterfell would have no idea of lighting shit with snow on it ever, because that would never come up before. Especially not when there's year-long winter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and then so when they do that, the undead, like Mark said, they start to climb over the fire. And then there's some. I did not care for the dragon fight because again, it didn't make any sense. And second, I couldn't see what the fuck was going on. I'm pretty sure that Daenerys's dragon got hit with a spear. I didn't see it for sure.
Yeah, I think it got wounded. I don't think it's dead, but I think it got wounded. No, it's not.
And is Jon's dead? I don't know, but I know he fell out of the sky 300 feet, and then he just fucking walked off.
Yeah, that was another thing that slightly bothered me, too.
It's the dragon's dead. I better walk that shit off.
Oh, man. Yeah, so, they breach the first part is, the big battle, and obviously they start to attack the castle, and... they're shooting arrows at them. They're trying to fight them, and it's frightening because it's almost like a wave, just like a wave of bodies, and so the battle gets really intense out there, and then we move into the.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I think we skipped over a part when they're going through the gates. Mm-hmm. I don't know why she's not in the cellar or crypts. Lady Mormont, the young lady, she's 10. I don't know. She's there, and then a giant comes in, and a giant it basically grabs her and starts to crush her to death.
Yep.
And in the process, she stabs it in the eye with obsidian, and I called that 5 minutes before it happened. When he's picking her up, yeah, he's gonna kill her, and she's stabbing in the eye, and sure enough. So yeah, that's the second big, character death that, people would remember.
Yeah, that's, that was probably the most like kind of heart-wrenching one, I guess. I don't.
Yeah, I know it's a child being crushed to death,
Right.
but it didn't bother me that much because I really don't care for the character.
Yeah, it didn't bother me that much because I don't really know a ton about the character since I'm not 100% caught up on the show. But it's I get the poetry of it where it's the littlest warrior is killing the largest warrior. I get what they're going for there.
And like with her personality, that's like she doesn't quit. But I mean, I just don't care for the character because it's kind of ridiculous. It's like something like written by like someone who's like really into like anime or something. Where like, oh, and then the child is like, yeah, it doesn't make sense in the context.
Super Mac and Potty. How much would you laugh if in the middle of the battle that happened?
Oh my god, I would still be laughing right now.
But anyway, so
burn, everybody burn. They are dead.
so then like we go into, like I said, and it cuts back and forth between these two things, the big battle outside, and then we go into like the horror movie section of the episode where
they showed us horror very well. Like I'm not a big fan of zombies, but the whites are just terrifying. Like the way they animate them, like they look just real enough.
Yep.
And like even the weird scream they do is like, ugh, it's bothersome.
Yeah, Arya is like absolutely kicking ass outside and then ends up going inside where there's a lot of whites inside in the library.
They, like slip through the cracks. There's just so many of them. They're just completely overwhelming the entire, fortress.
And everything gets really quiet at that point, and she starts, sneaking around. And like I said, it's a tense, it's like a tense horror movie scene where she's, trying to get out, trying to get around, and she ends up getting saved by
the Hound and Beric Dondarrion.
Yeah, that's right, the Hound.
I think at this point the people who do the show are clearly messing with the audience because I mean there's so many moments in the library where you think the standard like jump scare thing's going to happen and it just never does. That's
one of the brilliant things about it too is that it builds up all the tension, but it doesn't go for the cheap kind of scare, and that's part of why I think they do horror so well. Yeah.
And then, so you were saying, Beric Dondarrion, another priest of the Lord of Light, and the Hound, who are kind of buddies at this point, are out there, and then they're trying to help Arya escape, or they're really all trying to escape at the same time.
Yeah.
Beric Dondarrion dies for the last time, sacrificing his life so that the other two can escape. And this is kind of interesting because the Lord of Light is pretty present at this battle, both with Melisandre, who comes all the way to the battle. I mean, she's not even on the continent, and half the people at Winterfell hate her because, she burnt a child to death.
Yeah. Yep.
And Davos, of all people, as soon as he sees her, she's like, oh, don't bother with the execution. I'm not going to survive the night, which, she says right off the bat.
Yep. Yeah, she foreshadows her own death.
And I remember she told Varys at one time that neither of them, are going to leave the continent. They're both from the different continent, which I don't remember the name of, but yeah.
The one that's not Westeros, yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously she's, talks. They eventually catch up Arya and the Hound to her, Melisandre, I don't remember the white one.
Yep.
But she's like so they talk to her about this, and she's like, "Oh, remember this prophecy?" And Arya's like, "Oh, shucks, I forgot all about it." And she kind of wanders off.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really know what happens to the Hound at this point. I kind of forget his character.
Yeah,
what he's doing.
I think he's the one that watches her at the very end walk out into the snow. Right?
No, that's Davos actually.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which I thought was a great scene.
Yeah, we'll get to that one soon too. Yeah, I guess he's just in that room. I don't know.
Yeah, because he's completely afraid of fire, which you've established the first time you see him in the series. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if you saw that where his older brother, the mountain that moves, Gregor Clegane, burnt his face as a child because he wouldn't give him a.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so he's basically useless when the fire's around, which is the entire time he's on top of Winterfell because Winterfell is burning.
Yep.
And then so they kind of sneak away. And then at this point, I'm trying to think. I know they were probably, we see Jon has landed and he crashed and he's okay somehow.
Yeah, he crashed, he's okay somehow, and then he starts charging at the king, and the Night King, and he does his little resurrection thing, and all the all the dead bodies start coming to life, and he's completely surrounded, basically. So you figure, like, I was pretty sure he wasn't going to die, but at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm like, well, he could, because
I was on the fence about everyone's death at various points in this episode.
And so that's when Cersei comes and
Daenerys,
yeah, tries.
That'd be a different scene entirely,
right? Tries to save the day by burning everyone.
Is it Draconis? Is the word? I don't think that's correct.
Yeah, something like that.
It's a word for fire in Old Valyrian.
Yeah,
and that's when she first taught the dragons how to light things on fire.
Yeah, and so she burns up. Most of them thought she was going to burn up the Night King, but she doesn't, because he's still fine, and then he just he takes the rest of his army that's left and leaves.
This is quite alarming at this point, because from what we understand, the only thing that can kill the Whites and presumably the Night King himself are dragon fire and basically like the obsidian glass, if that.
Right. So yeah, at this point we don't at this point in the episode we have no idea what can kill him then.
Pretty much.
And killing him obviously is the number one priority, because as we learned, when you kill one of these guys, all the ones that they reanimated also die.
This is another brilliant twist by the creators, because you forget that if he's not killable by fire, you completely forget about dragon glass, because that's forged by dragons. Mm-hmm. So you'd think that would have some of their properties, like where it would be lethal in the same way that dragon fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, and then I think at this point is when like the rest of the episode is basically all just music and sound effects, and that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, they really slow everything down, and it gets they use slow motion montage like longer than a standard montage, but because there's a lot of really beautiful tracking shots and everything that they use in it, but it's sort of a montage of things that are going on all around. We see Jon Snow quite a bit.
Jonah Mormont. This is where he is killed in defending Daenerys.
Yep. Yeah, and Jon Snow didn't do a ton. Like, if you look at the battle, Jon Snow didn't really get a lot accomplished in this episode, and neither did Lannister.
Jamie. Yeah, they didn't really show him or Brienne of Tarth or even the Giantsbane guy that much. Which those were top candidates for being killed. Everyone's like, oh well, Brienne is a knight now, so she's going to be killed, but she was barely even in the episode.
Yeah. So, one of the last scenes for Jon Snow is him kind of like standing up to the ice dragon, and we see Bran in, they go to him a few different times in the episode. He's, away from the battle, obviously. What's the name of the guy that protects him? I can't remember his name.
Theon Greyjoy.
Yeah, Theon Greyjoy. So he, Bran does his thing where he contacts the Ravens and tries to see where things are going on. He's basically just sitting in his chair. And then, the Ice King, comes up, he's there and, a good deal away from him still, but with his army, and just kind of staring at him. And this whole time I'm thinking, like, what's the, and maybe this is because I'm not totally caught up, but I'm thinking, like, what is the connection between these two? And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, is Bran controlling this guy in some way? Like, why is he here?
Yeah, there was a lot of, they claim that Bran was having a vision and he saw the Night King, and the Night King scratched at him in the vision. When he came out, he saw the scratch, so he says he's marked by the Night King. Mm-hmm. But so supposedly he could track him down, and that's what his strategy was. He's like, oh, he'll know I'm here. So maybe, I was wondering why he was warging. Maybe that was to draw his attention.
Okay, yeah.
Because he warged in a bunch of crows, or one crow in a flock, or maybe, I guess there were ravens. I don't know. Well, they'd have to be crows because ravens don't flock like that.
Yeah.
regardless, yeah, and he was like flying around, almost like doing like reconnaissance. But I don't understand what he was really doing there. What I thought was going to happen is I thought Bran was going to warg into the dragon, the Viserion that was shooting the blue flame, and then use him to kill the Night King. Like I thought that's what was going to happen because I couldn't understand really what Bran was even doing.
Oh, I could totally see that.
Especially because they kept flashing back to the dragon. I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be awesome, but that's not what happened.
So, the guy, charges at him and tries to attack him. The Night King kills him.
That was like the worst like attack ever. Like the end, it wasn't even like an effort.
Yeah, it's basically just like a headlong charge. It's like that Kids in the Hall character.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just a headlong charge with no strategy whatsoever. He gets killed, and then the Night King continues to approach him, and goes to start pulling his sword out. And I'm still thinking at this point, I'm like, what is going to happen? Like, can he control him and stuff? And that dragon theory, that would have been really cool too. And that's obvious. That's a great. That would have been a great thing to do too. But then Arya, who at least I kind of forgot about when she just ran off.
Yeah, I completely forgot about her.
She comes out of nowhere and flying jumps at him, and he turns around, he grabs her. You think, oh no, she's gonna die too. She catches the blade as it's coming down, stabs him, kills him. All the rest of his troops, explode like they do into ice, and that pretty much ends the battle because all the forces are destroyed at that point.
Yeah, I was 100% shocked, but it was like, I mean, I could have. There's really no other way other than the dragon that they could have ended the episode at that point because you're pretty sure that the Night King isn't going to kill every single character. That'd be kind of a weird way to end it with 3 episodes left.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know. I actually usually prefer the I like the political aspects. Like in the first 2 seasons, I really like the most. So I'm happy that they're going back to that. I mean, obviously there'll be like some kind of battle and war, but there's all these different like factions, vying at each other. So I think I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to enjoy the last 3 episodes without the White Walkers. Is what I'm saying. I'm glad they're going.
I agree with you. And then basically the very tail end of the episode, other than everyone kind of looking relieved that they actually won, or that everyone is dead, all the White Walkers are dead and everything, is Melisandre taking off her amulet and walking out into the snow to turn old and then die. Yeah. Which, like you said, was a really great scene. I loved that scene. I loved the way it was shot. I
like that Davos showed up. He still was going to kill her, even if she helped, because he felt so bad over Shireen. But she's like, no.
Yeah, she's like, I got this. I can do this.
Every time I saw Davos on screen, I was like, oh no, don't kill him off. He's easily my favorite character, and I like how that wrapped up with her and him.
Yeah, that was a very satisfying conclusion to their storyline together there. And like I said, everyone was sort of paired with someone that they had, history or an emotional connection with. And that, I think that was part of the brilliance of the episode, is the blending of those character moments with the bigger battle moments. And like to kind of look towards the future, like you said, there will probably be one more battle, but I feel like it'll be a smaller battle in scale, but maybe slightly more emotional, because I think they saved a lot of these characters that didn't die in this battle to die in the last battle.
Yeah, it could be.
Because like you said, there were much fewer deaths than many people speculated and thought there would be, and there's obviously still characters that I think are kind of on the chopping block. And I think there will be some emotional punches in that last battle, of the series. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm kind of glad this threat is gone. I thought this episode was great. I'm glad that it built up to this, but I am kind of glad that the threat is now destroyed, and we can focus on the throne and the resolution of all this stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll throw in something like Samwell will be like, "Oh, by the way, I found this old book, and it said the White Walkers were, blah blah blah."
Right. Was that the guy that kept almost being killed and being saved by people that died?
I don't think so.
I
He's John's friend, like his scholarly friend.
can't remember. There's one dude that was just like it throughout the most of the episode. He just kind of was like screaming and looked horrified.
Oh, maybe that was him, I think. But
Okay.
I don't understand why I don't understand why some of the people that weren't in the crypt weren't in the crypt. Like he's definitely one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought he should have definitely been in the crypt because he kept getting saved by people that then were stabbed and murdered.
Because he's a scholar. He went to the Citadel to learn to be a maester. Which like the scholar. I mean, why would they'd want to preserve him? Because he knows more about the White Walkers than anybody else on Westeros.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
discovered how to kill them.
yeah. It doesn't make sense that he's out there really, but I guess show's got a show. So,
Right.
but that is our episode for tonight. As always, tell a friend about Massive Late Fee if you like the show. Check out the Super Media Brothers. Also, my wife and I, quote unquote girlfriend, just the new episode of Retro Late Fee came out today. Again, that's on a different feed now. So just search Retro Late Fee, or you can go to our social medias and the links are there. We did the Brendan Fraser Joe Pesci movie with honors, which came out 25 years ago yesterday now, I think. But it's a pretty good episode, and we have fun doing it, so definitely check that out. Tell a friend about this show, rate and subscribe on iTunes. That helps us out a lot. And what else? Go to Patreon. You can find us at Massive Late Fee everywhere: Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm working on putting up more pictures on our Instagram. I think we have like 15 or 16. I'm not young, so I don't do a lot of Instagram stuff.
For our newfound German fans, if we get to 100,000 likes on Facebook, we're going to try and get David Hasselhoff as an interview.
That's right. Yes, we will. We will get David Hasselhoff. If
And we know how you feel about that already.
Yeah, that's right. Das ist gut.
Wait, can we quickly agree on something here? Can we say that Dolph Lundgren is exempt from our hatred of Scandinavia?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there's an exception for Dolph Lundgren, obviously, but he's an honorary American / Russian.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is our show for the week. Questions, comments, we love it, and interact with us on Twitter. I'm getting on Twitter a little bit more now. I'm handing over more of the day-to-day operations to some other people so I can, do some more stuff on Twitter and other things that we're doing. So we always love when you interact with us on there. Interact with Mike at late_Mike on Twitter. I'm sure Mike would be happy to talk to fans as well. And he's the funny one of the podcast. So,
did I tell you that when we did the Skeptical Skeptics, some guy was like tweeting at me about the JFK assassination?
I read a little bit of that. Yeah, you didn't tell me about it, but I read it.
I quickly ended that one.
Yeah,
like, oh, you're right. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I still what I have to say about that subject.
Oh, I know. That's but yeah, we everyone loved that crossover episode with the Skeptical Skeptics too. We might do something with them again in the future. Obviously, they are good friends of ours. But that is our show for today, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See you next time.